Have you ever looked at your keyboard and wondered, why aren't the letters arranged alphabetically? You might think it would make more sense to have A, B, C, D, E, and so on. But instead, we have this strange-looking arrangement, Q, W, E, R, T, Y. This is called the QWERTY keyboard layout. And believe it or not, the reason goes all the way back to the very first typewriters. The beginning of the typewriter. Before computers, people used mechanical typewriters. When you pressed a key, a small metal arm would physically move and hit an ink ribbon, leaving a letter on the paper. The earliest typewriters experimented with different keyboard layouts, including layouts that were closer to alphabetical order. But there was a problem. If someone typed too quickly, certain mechanical arms could collide with each other. Imagine several metal arms trying to move through the same small space at almost the same time. They could get stuck. And when that happened, the typist had to stop and manually separate the keys. That was obviously a problem. Enter QWERTY. During the 1870s, Christopher Latham Scholes and his collaborators developed a keyboard arrangement that eventually became the layout we know today as QWERTY. The idea was to arrange the keys in a way that helped reduce mechanical problems on early typewriters. The exact history of why every individual letter was placed where it is actually more complicated than the simple story that QWERTY was created just to slow people down. That's a popular explanation, but historians have found the real development of the layout was more complicated. What we do know is that the QWERTY arrangement became widely adopted, and once a keyboard layout becomes popular, changing it becomes extremely difficult. But why didn't we change it? This is where things get interesting. By the time electronic typewriters and eventually computers became popular, millions of people were already familiar with QWERTY. Typing schools taught it. Companies used it. Manufacturers produced keyboards with it. And people developed their muscle memory around it. So even though computers don't have the same mechanical problem as old typewriters, there was already a huge reason to keep QWERTY. Everyone already knew how to use it. Imagine if every keyboard suddenly changed tomorrow. Your typing speed would probably drop dramatically. You would have to relearn where every letter was. That's the power of something called standardization. Once a design becomes the standard, replacing it can be much harder than creating a better design. And QWERTY isn't the only layout. There are actually alternative keyboard layouts. One famous example is Dvorak, developed in the 1930s. Dvorak was designed with the goal of making typing more efficient and comfortable. There are also layouts such as Colmac, which keeps many familiar QWERTY positions while changing others. But despite these alternatives, QWERTY remains extremely popular, not necessarily because it's perfect, but because it's already everywhere. So, is your keyboard random? Not at all. The keyboard on your laptop today is the result of more than a century of technological history, habits, and standardization. So the next time you look at QWERTY instead of ABCDEF, remember, you're not looking at a random arrangement. You're looking at a design that survived the transition from mechanical typewriters to modern computers. And that's why your keyboard still looks a little weird after all these years.